My name's Chris Pill. Okay, so what I'm going to get into now, crazy eyes. Okay, I was lucky enough to talk to an old friend today, who just so happened to be on the ground during the Hong Kong, I don't know what you would call it. Um, well, I'll explain. So, in Hong Kong, okay, let's grab that. So, when you buy a house, it has a lease on it of about 99 years or something like that. Now, you can choose when you buy a house to renew the lease. And, I'll have it for another 99 years or another 99 years. None of it really matters because the lifespan doesn't really last more than 100 years. However, when we being the Great Britain, when we took up a lease of Hong Kong, obviously, as a country, we didn't die after 100 years. We're still well and truly going. The lease ran out, so we want it back. So we were like, damn, we got quite attached to it. And they us, and Hong Kong in general got quite, you could say, happy with the way things were. It wasn't China, and it wasn't the UK, but it was one of our many outreach programs. No, it was one of our many brilliant countries around the world that makes the old British Empire, I suppose. Kind of now it's more of a vague memory, and more of an ideal, as opposed to what it actually was, which was, brutally taking over the world, and monopolizing it, or turning it into industry, trade, that kind of thing. Anywho, so ultimately the lease ran out and we had to sign it over. Now, when we signed it over to China, we cried. We cried. We loved it. We wanted it. We wanted to extend it. They said no. China said no. We want it back. So we said, okay, right. Leases run out. It's yours. There you go. With reluctant and heavy hearts, we sign it back. Now, we promised that we would we would let it be not run by China for, I think it was 30 years or something. So we promised we'd kind of look after it in the transition period, as it were, and make sure that they would have fair elections and stuff like that. Now, it turned out that China kind of wanted to vet the politicians that were running in Hong Kong. So kind of democracy is democracy, but we want to approve everything, approve all of your candidates before you vote on them. Now this led to, I think it was the Umbrella Movement, which is when Hong Kong said, England, Great Britain, can you kind of sort us out some free elections here, please, without the Communist China Party, or DPRK, is it? Democratic Republic of People of China? Yeah. Without them, like, making sure that they're the right candidates before we're allowed to vote. Sounds a bit familiar. No. So yes, that, I think, was the Umbrella Movement. Now, there's a bill that's it's currently been shelved or put into kind of thought process, but China, instead of vetting the people that they vote for, now China want to introduce a sort of a, if you guys annoy us or anyone goes against China or says derogatory things, or just is not a friend of China, as it were, if someone's getting a bit out of line or uppity, I believe is the phrase, then China can sort of pluck them and take them to China, and and put them in a darkened room, let them think about what they said before putting them back in Hong Kong. Now, understandably, the Hong Kong people don't like the thought of just being plucked from Hong Kong, and I think the words re-education camp and that kind of thing came up, and human rights things, things of that nature, and the people in Hong Kong really weren't fans of this. So they very peacefully all kind of hit the streets and did civil marches, or they closed the roads because obviously there was demonstrations and stuff like that. So these demonstrations have been going on for a while now. My friend, who's a fan of a bit of political, I don't know what you would say. He's a fan of action, as it were. Wherever there's fun stuff going, he's one to throw his hat in the ring, sort of thing. Vicariously, living the life of an adventurer, kind of thing. So he saw this was going on in Hong Kong, and went to enjoy himself. Went to see what the whole crack was. He got over there and started hanging out. Met some very interesting people. Met some right wingers, some left wingers, some old ladies that just loved it when Great Britain was in charge. They turn out to all these kind of marches, events, protests, if you will, with massive, waving big, massive Union Jack flags, and just absolutely, reminiscing very fondly about the days Britain was involved. So you've got those from the older people those days, and then you've got the younger people. Now, I'm a big fan of what team do you bat for? If you're Scottish and say an English person, say it's England against South Africa or England against Australia, say you're Scottish, they would say, in terms of cricket, which team would you bat for? And they would say, I'm Scottish. I'm not going to bat for England or Australia. But if you had to choose, who would you go for? Some of them would say Australia, some of them would say, I'm Scottish. I don't bat for either team. So that's that situation there. Now, if you talk to some of these kind of hardliner people, they would say, I'm English, I'm British, I'm Hong Kong, I'm Chinese. So you've got a lot of these younger Hong Kong people who are very kind of steeped, let's say, in the British ideals, or kind of they're very passionate. If you were to say which team would you bat for, China or the UK, they would say the UK. They're that's where they see themselves. That's how they are. That's who they are. That's how they are. That's what they believe in. That's how they bat, or who they bat for. Now, this demonstration was very peaceful, going on in Hong Kong. Like I say, it's been going on for a few weeks now. There was about 7 or 8 cops out in the streets or whatever, and it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger around the political building, around like the meeting place building. Now, this is where it gets fun. Okay, so some of them thought it would be a good idea to siege this building using some kind of medieval ram techniques. I assure you, it didn't start out like that. They didn't mean to do that. It's just obviously more and more people arrived, ideas got conceived, and it was thought, you know what? I'm not Chinese. I'm Hong Kong. More to the point, I'm actually Hong Kong with a leaning of British. So what they decided to do was break in. Yeah, but more than break in, it was an active event that they knew would elevate the perhaps quiet, very formal kind of marches to an elevation of first story on the 6 o'clock news with Fiona Bruce on the BBC, and well, there you go. It just goes to show a little bit of violence, a little bit of pushing that mark, and no longer are you the quiet majority. You're the rather hardliners. The people at the I like to call the spear tip. You can have a solid piece of wood there, but it's the very tip. So these very tip obviously thought it would be a good idea to go into the government building, spray black spray paint over the Chinese emblem, and then raise the old colonial flag, which had the Union Jack on it. So the Union Jack got raised along with the colonial flag in Hong Kong yesterday, which is emphasized and inflated even more because it was actually the birthday or the anniversary of Great Britain having to give it back to China. So on this anniversary, when all of the Chinese were celebrating about their repatriation or their taking back of Hong Kong, to have the Union Jack Hong Kong flag being raised and to have their Chinese symbol, one would say desecrated, but no, just black spray painted out. I think vandalized was the term used by the BBC, but they've lost their way a bit recently. But that's by the by. Anyway, so they went in and they raised the flag of the Hong Kong British, but from back in the colonial days, which is awesome. I'm a big fan. Anytime the Great British flag gets raised, or the British flag gets raised, or the Union Jack gets raised. But more to the point, though, it's anytime anyone does something with passion. If you really care about something enough to actually do something about it and to make a stand, that's what's important. The important thing is everybody in the country was out in force, left, right. Everybody was against this bill where Chinese people could just take any person from Hong Kong and, like I say, put them in a dark room and let them think about what they've done. And they were against that bill, and they all came out in force about it. And today, when they were, trying to obviously, celebrate and celebrate the transition between it being a British colonial place to being Chinese, they came out and used that as an opportunity, and the anniversary is an opportunity to say, hey, world, look, we're from Hong Kong, and we don't like the fact, well, Umbrella Movement, we don't like the fact that you vet our people that we vote for, and now we don't like the fact that you're imposing the ability to just take us away and come into our country without saying anything and taking our people, and then putting them in a dark room and letting them think about what they said. So that's what the thing was today. Now, luckily, I had a friend told me all about this prior to the news at 6, when I then heard the BBC's take on it. So there you go. It's very rare that you're actually there on the ground when a movement starts, or or something of that nature happens. But it was great to see. It was great to see. I mean, I'm not going to start anything by perhaps mentioning that if anyone put out a Euro warrant, any English person would be taken to The Hague, or taken to Germany, or Italy, or I don't know, any other place in Europe where they would like to take us, because Great Britain's not really got its sovereignty anymore. But we'll not talk about that one. But yeah. So it's funny. I just thought it was quite funny how they were campaigning so violently against this bill. Well, not violently at all, actually. There was a bit of a, okay, you come in, trash the place now if you'd like to leave, and then pretty much everyone left, and then there was a few stragglers, and then they fired tear gas at them. But that was about that, really. But yeah, so all of these people are very annoyed about obviously being plucked and taken over to China, whereas we've got no choice over in England right now. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. A little bit of knowledge on the old Hong Kong. Yeah, no, hopefully they'll repeal the bill, or actually look at common sense and say, no, China can't just kidnap someone. But Europe does it to England with Euro warrants and such. Let's not talk about drone strikes, because nobody invites them in. And if you shoot them down, then you could create a war. Not that they should be flying over your airspace anyway, but again, we're pushing too many buttons here. Pushing too many buttons. All I'd like to say is well done to all of the Hong Kong people, for left, right, like everyone, old, young, for coming out and supporting something that they passionately believe in. And that thing that they passionately believe in is obviously not being plucked and made to sit in a quiet room. And yeah, so great to see a whole country, or is it a suburb? I don't know. It's a city. It's a city. It's great to see the city of Hong Kong actually come out in force and say, we're against this, and hopefully, democracy, the masses. Yeah, we know. Yeah, so hopefully democracy, or the masses, or the will of the people will come through, and someone will look at sense and say, okay, the Hong Kong is its own thing. They don't want that. Let's not do that. But we'll see. Let's watch with bated breath, and enjoy the proceeds. Okay, toodaloo. Okay, but I've got one viewer and one thumbs up, so I'd like to thank those people. God knows who they are at this time. It's currently 5:20 in the morning, and I've only got 18 subscribers, so I don't know who that is. I'm intrigued to look. I might go and look at the BIOS now. Anyway, oh no, they're not watching anymore. All right, anyway, toodaloo. Bye now. Bye. End stream. Are you sure you want to end stream? Yes, I am. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. What? No, that's just blatantly ripped off. Yeah, the classic film based in the Sphere. Can't remember what it's called. You know what it's called. If you know, you know. Anywho, toodaloo. Bye. Toodles.